The River Brue originates in the parish of Brewham in Somerset, England, and reaches the sea some 50 kilometres west at Burnham-on-Sea. It originally took a different route from Glastonbury to the sea, but this was changed by Glastonbury Abbey in the 12th century. The river provides an important drainage route for water from a low-lying area which is prone to flooding, which man has tried to manage through rhynes, canals, artificial rivers and sluices for centuries. The Brue Valley Living Landscape is an ecological conservation project based on the Somerset Levels and Moors and managed by the Somerset Wildlife Trust. The valley includes several sites of special scientific interest including West Haymore, Shapwick Heath and Shapwick Moor. Much of the area has been at the centre of peat extraction on the Somerset Levels. The Brue Valley Living Landscape project commenced in January 2009 to restore and reconnect habitat that will support wildlife. The aim is to be able to sustain itself in the face of climate change while guaranteeing farmers and other landowners can continue to use the land profitably. It is one of an increasing number of landscape-scale conservation projects in the UK. Course: the River Brue originates in hills to the southwest of the catchment area, close to the border with Dorset. The same hills are the locale of the sources of the River Wylye and the Dorset Stour, which flow south to the English Channel. It descends quickly in a narrow valley to a point just beyond Bruton where it is joined by the River Pit. Here it takes the meandering route through a broad, flat-bottomed valley between Castle Carey and Alhampton. By the time it reaches Boltonsborough, it is only some 10 metres above sea level, and the surrounding countryside is drained into it by way of numerous rhynes. It passes Glastonbury, where it acts as a natural boundary with nearby village of Street, before flowing in a largely artificial channel across the Somerset Levels and into the River Parrett at Burnham-on-Sea. It is joined by the North Drain, Whites River and many drainage rhynes. It is connected to the River Axe through several of these channels which are controlled by sluices. It is tidal below the sluices at Newclice Bridge in High Bridge. Bow Bridge is a 15th-century pack-horse bridge over the River Brue in Plox, Bruton. It is a Grade I listed building and scheduled monument. The bridge may have been built as a link between the former Bruton Abbey and its courthouse in the High Street. The bridge was restored after floods in 1982. The River Brue has a long history of flooding. Its lower reaches are close to sea level, and the river above Bruton drains an area of 31 square kilometres into a steep and narrow valley. In 1984 a protective dam was built 1 kilometre upstream from the town. The valley includes several sites of special scientific interest including West Haymore, Shapwick Heath and Shapwick Moor. Much of the area has been at the centre of peat extraction on the Somerset Levels. Large areas of peat were laid down on the Somerset Levels, particularly in the River Brue Valley, during the Quaternary period after the ice sheets melted. The extraction of peat from the moors is known to have taken place during Roman times, and has been carried out since the levels were first drained. Peat extraction on the Somerset Moors continues today, although much reduced. History: the area is known to have been occupied since the Neolithic, when people exploited the reed swamps for the natural resources and started to construct wooden trackways such as the Sweeton Post tracks. The Sweet track, named after the peat digger who discovered it in 1970 and dating from the 3800s BC, is the world's oldest timber trackway, once thought to be the world's oldest engineered roadway. The track was built between what was in the early 4th millennium BC in Ireland at West Hay and a ridge of high ground at Shapwick, close to the River Brue. The remains of similar tracks have been uncovered nearby, connecting settlements on the peat bog including the Honeygore, Abbots Way, Bells, Bakers, West Hay and Niddens trackways. The levels contain the best preserved prehistoric village in the UK, Glastonbury Lake Village, as well as two others at Mere Lake Village. Discovered in 1892 by Arthur Bullied, it was inhabited by about 200 people living in 14 roundhouses, and was built on a morass on an artificial foundation of timber filled with brushwood, bracken, rubble and clay. The valley was used during Romano-British period when it was the site of salt extraction. At the time of King Arthur, the Brue formed a lake just south of the hilly ground on which Glastonbury stands. According to legend, this lake is one of the locations suggested by Arthurian legend as the home of the Lady of the Lake. Pompal's Bridge stood at the western end of this lake, guarding Glastonbury from the south, and it is suggested that it was here that Sir Bedivere threw Excalibur into the waters after King Arthur fell at the Battle of Camlann. John Leland noted in the 16th century that the bridge had 4 arches, while W. Phelps in an 1839 illustration as having only 2 arches, one pointed probably from the 14th or 15th century, and the other round. Excavations in 1912 found the remains of a second round arch regarded as 12th century work. The current concrete arch bridge was built in 1911 and extended in 1972. It carries the A39 road over the Brue. Alteration of route. Before the 13th century, the direct route to the C.It bridge was blocked by gravel banks and peat near West Hay. The course of the river partially encircled Glastonbury from the south around the western side, and then north through the Panborough-Bleedney Gap in the Wedmore-Wookey Hills, to join the River Axe just north of Bleedney. This route made it difficult for the officials of Glastonbury Abbey to transport produce from their outlying estates to the Abbey, and when the valley of the River Axe was in flood, it backed up to flood Glastonbury itself. Sometime between 1230 and 1250 a new channel was constructed westwards into Merepool north of Mere, and further westwards to Mark Moor. It then divided into 2 channels, one the Pilrow Cut flowing north through Mark to join the Axe near Edingworth, and the other directly west to the C.It Bridge. During monastic times, there were several fish weirs along the lower reaches of the river. They used either nets or baskets, the fishing rights belonging to the Bishop of Bath and Wells and the Abbot of Glastonbury. Drainage improvements between 1774 and 1797. A series of enclosures took place in the Brue Valley between the Poldens and Wedmore. In 1794 the annual floods filled the whole of the Brue Valley. Work by the Commissioners of Suez led to the 1801 Brue Drainage Act, which enabled sections at High Bridge and Cripps Bridge to be straightened, and new feeder channels such as the North and South drains to be constructed. In 1803 the Clyde at High Bridge, which had been built before 1485, was replaced and moved further downstream. The area around Bruton has suffered over the centuries. The earliest recorded damage was in 1768 when a stone bridge was destroyed after the river rose very rapidly. On the 28th of June 1917, 242.8 mm of rain fell in 24 hours at Bruton, leaving a watermark on one pub 20 feet above the normal level of the river. In 1982, extensive flooding occurred in the town, and as a result in 1984 a protective dam was built 1 kilometre upstream from the town. 19th, 20th and 21st centuries. The mouth of the River Brue had an extensive harbour in Roman and Saxon times. Before silting up in the medieval period, it was used again again as a small harbour in the 17th and 18th centuries, and in 1833 the port of High Bridge was formally opened on the river. A new wharf, known as Clyce Wharf, was built on the Huntspool side of the river mouth by 1904, and was used for the import of coal and the export of bricks and tiles and agricultural products. The port closed in 1949. Both Galton's Canal and Brown's Canal, which were built in the early 19th century, were connected to the river. The Glastonbury Canal used the course of the River Brue from High Bridge to Cripps Bridge, and part of the south drain to Ashcott Corner. The Glastonbury Canal ran for just over 14 miles through two lochs from Glastonbury to High Bridge, where it entered the River Parrett, and from the Bristol Channel. The canal was authorised by Parliament in 1827 and opened in 1834. It was operated by the Glastonbury Navigation and Amp Canal Company. Most of it was abandoned as a navigation in 1854, when a railway was built along the towpath. During the Second World War, the Brue was incorporated into GHQ line, and many pillboxes were constructed along the river. Gant's Mill at Pitcombe, near Bruton, is a wort mill which is still used to mill cattle feed. A 12 kilowatts hydroelectric turbine was recently installed at the site. There has been a mill here since the 13th century, but the current building was built in 1810. Following summer floods of 1997 and the prolonged flooding of 1999-2000, the Parrett Catchment Project was formed, partly funded by the European Union Regional Development Fund, by 30 organisations, including British Waterways, Campaign to Protect Rural England, Countryside Agency, Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Environment Agency, King's Sedgemoor and Carey Vale Internal Drainage Board, Levels and Moors Partnership, National Farmers Union, Sedgemoor, Somerset County Council, South Somerset District Council, Taunton Deane and Wessex Water. They aim to tackle 12 areas, which, when combined, will make a significant contribution to reducing the adverse effects of flooding. These include the conversion of arable land, adoption of the sustainable drainage systems approach to controlling rainwater runoff from developed areas, dredging, raising riverbanks and improving pumping facilities. Further studies of the possible beneficial effects of woodland in reducing flooding have also been undertaken. During the winter flooding of 2013-14 on the Somerset Levels, the River Brue overflowed at New Year during the rain and storms from Storm Dirk, with many residents asking for the Environment Agency to resume river dredging. On the 24th of January 2014, in light of the continued flooded extent of the Somerset Moors and forecast new rainfall as part of the winter storms of 2013-14 in the United Kingdom, both Somerset County Council and Sedgemoor District Council declared a major incident, as defined under the Civil Contingencies Act 2004. At this time, with 17,000 acres of agricultural land having been under water for over a month, the village of Thorney was abandoned and Muchelney was cut off by flood waters for almost a month. Northmoor Green, which is more commonly known as Moorland, was also severely affected. By the end of January, 17,000 acres of agricultural land, including Northmoor, Gurry and Hay Moors and Grey Lake, had been under water for over a month. Bridgewater was partly flooded on the 10th of February 2014, when, with 20,000 sandbags ready to be deployed, over 600 houses were flooded, and both flooding and groundwater disrupted services, including trains on the Bristol to Exeter line between Bridgewater and Taunton. Further preventative work under the title of the Brue Catchment River Maintenance Pilot Project has led to controversy about the need for dredging and maintenance of the river. Hydrology and water quality. At Bruton Dam, the nearest measuring station to the source of the river, the normal level of the river is between 0.6 meters and 2.08 meters, with the highest level ever recorded being 10.7 meters in 2007. Within the town of Bruton at Bruton Surgery, the normal level is between 0.17 meters and 0.69 meters. Further downstream at Lovington, the normal level is between 0.08 meters and 0.56 meters. The furthest downstream monitoring station at Clayshole near Street records a normal range of 0.15 meters and 0.49 meters. For the purposes of monitoring of water quality, the Brue and Axe are considered together. In 2013, 19 water bodies within the area were considered to have moderate water quality, with 2 being poor and 4 good quality. Agriculture and rural land management is the largest factor affecting water quality, followed by the water industry. Transport, industry and manufacturing also have an effect. Ecology. The Brue Valley Living Landscape is a UK conservation project managed by the Somerset Wildlife Trust. The project commenced in January 2009 and aims to restore habitat. It aims to help wildlife sustain itself in the face of climate change, while guaranteeing farmers and other landowners can continue to use the land profitably. It is one of an increasing number of landscape-scale conservation projects in the UK. The project covers an area of approximately 12,500 hectares, encompassing the floodplain of the River Brue from a little east of Glastonbury to beyond the Catcott, Edrington and Chiltern Moors SSSI in the west. Almost a quarter of the project area is designated as Site of Special Scientific Interest, Special Protection Area and Ramsar Site. The project area accounts for almost half of the Somerset Levels and Moors Special Protection Area. The area includes land already managed for conservation by organisations including Somerset Wildlife Trust, Natural England, the Hoare Canal Trust and the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. These include Shapwick Heath National Nature Reserve, West Haymore, Catcott Lowes National Nature Reserve, Ham Wall and Shapwick Moor. There are 25 scheduled monuments and 746 historic environment records in the project area, including internationally important sites such as the Glastonbury Lake Village and Sweet Track. Research on the Somerset Levels and Moors has been crucial to the understanding of the natural and human history of wetlands. The project is based solely on the peat-based soils of the Somerset Moors. It does not extend onto the marine clay soils of the more westerly levels. The project has set out the major objectives. These include mapping and research on the Brue Valley, engagement with local government, farmers, the conservation sector and other interest community members, to produce a shared local vision. It is hoped to create larger and better connected patches of important habitats, in a way which also benefits the local economy and rural society. The project has received funding from the European Regional Development Fund, Natural England's Wetland Vision and the Viridor Credit Scheme. One of the project's goals is to protect, restore and create areas of reedbed, grazing marsh, fen, raised bog, lowland meadow, purple moorgrass and rush pastures and wet woodland. Species of conservation concerned that are likely to benefit from this project include plants such as divided sedge, English sticky eyebright, greater water parsnip, lesser butterfly orchid, marsh stitchwort and tubular waterdropwort. The flora provides a habitat for several species of invertebrates. These include moths such as the argent and sable moth, twelfth narrow-bordered bee-hawk moth and narrow-bordered bee-hawk moth. Wild butterfly species include the small heath, pearl-bordered fritillary and small pearl-bordered fritillary. Beetles found in the valley include the lesser silver water beetle and one grooved diving beetle. There are also shining ram's horn snails and shrill carder bees. The River Brue and its tributaries support a population of European eels. Reptiles found include the European adder and grass snake. Multiple bird species include bewick swan, Eurasian bittern, Eurasian bullfinch, Eurasian widgeon, European starling, gadwall, grasshopper warbler, hen harrier, house sparrow, linnet, marsh harrier, marsh tit, merlin, northern lapwing, peregrine, reed bunting, short-eared owl, skylark, song thrush, teal, willow tit and yellowhammer. Mammalian species of interest include the brown hare, Eurasian harvest mouse, European otter and water vole. Recreation. Anglers will find pike in excess of 20 pounds, with good stocks of chub, dace, roach, bream, tench, perch, rudd, and gudgeon. There are trout in the upper reaches. There are several access points along the river suitable for canoeing, and the river has been paddled as far up as Bruton, but above West Lidford only after recent rain. There are public footpaths alongside many stretches of the river.